This is one of my most hated mics. More on that in a bit, and I know I'm going to get some hate for that as well. And this mic's more of a meh from me, but they actually sound relatively close. But you have to remember, what I always say is all mics end up with treatment. So, can we salvage this mic and make both of these microphones pop? We sure can. So then, let's get into how. So let's relive a bit of the trauma that I had inflicted on so many people with this microphone. I mean, this thing made the SM58 sound like a dark mic when comparing them. Video made so many people mad. Anyways, the biggest issue I had with this was how bloody bright it is. But it wasn't just a bright mic. There was a harshness to some of the brightness. And that harshness almost made this mic sound brighter than it was. As for the PodMic, well, the sound profile didn't exactly blow me away until you get the chance to plug it into a Rodecaster. And of course, with all that Aphex goodies, you can really dial it in and make this microphone sound fantastic. One of the reasons I love the PodMic USB so much is the ability to do that with the USB mode. So I guess then, we already have answered the question if we can make the PodMic pop. We're going to do that in a bit. But what about this, the Wave DX? Well, first, we've got to find out if we can get rid of that harshness. And in case you don't know what the harshness is, let me point that out. So to illustrate this, headphones or good monitors will help you hear the differences. So I recorded both microphones side by side, and honestly, they were pretty close. Gained them up 10 dB, and this is the result. Now, when I say harshness, I don't mean on every word, but the Wave DX does struggle with the ch sound, among others, especially from someone like me that leans on the sibilant side. Now here's the PodMic with the ch sound. Choosy, chipper, chipmunks. And here's the Wave DX with the exact same sound. Choosy, chipper, chipmunks. Now let's play those back to back a couple times to really hammer it home. Choosy, chipper, chipmunks. Choosy, chipper, chipmunks. Can you hear that? Now, if you're like me, you can probably feel it in your bones as well. So then, how do we tame that? Well, EQ is a great start, but you have to remember, sometimes that harshness is more of a distortion and just bad reproduction of frequencies, and that doesn't always work with EQ. So then, let's see what we can do. So we all know that the PodMic gets a boost from Aphex, so let's check out what that sounds like. We're just going to turn this on. And now you're going to hear the microphone kind of come to life and kind of step forward. And it kind of fills it out for a lot of people that seem to think that the PodMic sounds a little kind of thin, maybe weak. This really just boosts it. Now, of course, you can stay with these three simple controls, the depth, the sparkle, the punch. If you don't know what you're doing, probably for the best, because as soon as you hit this advanced button, it flattens out your EQ. So we're going to go do that. So now we're into all the settings. We're going to do a couple things. The first thing I need to do is I need to turn the noise gate off. I don't need a noise gate because there's no sound around me. So now that that's done, we're going to move on to the high pass filter. Now, 3-band EQ does not have a high pass filter on it, and we'll set this to about 80, somewhere in there. 84 is fine. Okay. Now we're going to move on to the de-esser. And we're going to actually hit the de-esser second after we do the compression and the EQ, because when we do the EQ, we might be bringing up some of those S's that really pierce through and hit your ears. So let's hit the compression. This is a pretty basic 2-to-1 compression. The threshold's pretty decent. You really don't need more than this. Remember, when you change that ratio, you're bringing more of the lower sounds up and a lot of the higher sounds like your voice down. So room noise comes up, voice comes down. You want to avoid aggressive compression, especially if you don't have a really great environment that you're recording in. Now on to the 3-band EQ. And again, it's been flattened out here, so we've got to do all the work ourselves. So give me a second and I'm going to do that. And this is kind of what we're going with. Now, again, this is a really fast EQ, and I haven't EQ'd it on monitors. And that's important. When you're EQing with headphones, you end up hearing your own voice in your head, the bone conduction, and it's hard to kind of separate that from the sound. So you might be a little bit off when you're EQing until you get to some monitors. So this was just a quick and dirty one. Remember though, this is going to be a tweaking thing over time. You're going to hear it on some speakers and you're going to want to change that up to see how it sounds. Listen in your car if you want, and just come in and retweak, do it again. This isn't a set it and forget it thing, especially as you're learning. Now we're going to go back to that de-esser, and frankly, I think this is sitting about right. I'm going to bring this down a bit though, because I do have some S's in the 43 to 45. Now I know kind of where my S's are because I've been working with them for a little while. You might not know, so you're really going to have to hone in your ears and kind of hunt and peck for that. Now, again, this is the Rode PodMic with the processing on, and this is the Rode PodMic with the processing off. Rode PodMic processing on, Rode PodMic processing off. Now we have the Wave DX, and I've set it up as just a dynamic, so a basic dynamic, and it's got some basic processing that it's picked out for just a basic dynamic. I'm guessing it's probably the same as they have for the PodMic, but we're going to go in and we're going to once again kind of mess around with this to see if we can get this sounding a little bit better. Now with the high pass filter, we are once again going to turn that on, and once again we're going to go to our noise gate and turn that off. Again, this is a personal decision for you. Now remember, the de-esser, we want to make sure that we have our EQ done first before we do the de-esser, so we can make sure we're getting rid of any of that piercing harshness. So down to the compressor, again, you really don't need to change anything here. 2-to-1 threshold neg 20 dB, perfectly fine. Let's move on to the 3-band EQ. So this is with the processing off on the Wave DX, and this is with the processing on. Now you can hear the S's in this, and we're going to go over to the de-esser, and now we're going to hear the ch sound. Ch, ch, ch. Around 44, just a little bit lower, 44.69, and it even brings out a lot of the S's too. So again, we're going to go processing off. And you can hear kind of the body of the microphone fall away. And we're going to turn the processing on. And this is what it sounds like. This is the difference between the Wave PodMic, processing on, and processing off. So I didn't do any back and forths while I was setting them up, so let's do it now. I also did mention earlier that they did sound relatively close without any treatment on, so what do they sound like now as I jump between them? Also, knowing that you can take care of most of that harshness does actually make this microphone a lot more listenable. Now, I should also point something out here as well. I kind of stayed within the confines of what these mics were made for. This one is for gaming, this one kind of for podcasting. Then I EQ'd within the expectations there, which is actually relatively close. What I mean by that is you're looking for the mics to really cut through a mixture of possible audio. And I think we did a pretty good job here. Also, I should point out, while I did this on the Aphex on my Rodecaster video, this is all very transferable to any and all setups or VSTs that you might be using. Let me know what you think down below though. Do you prefer one over the other? And are you stopping the video to get any of the presets? Cheers guys, and thanks for watching.